Okay, generally speaking, when we say pharmaceutical inorganic chemistry or pharmaceutical chemistry in general, this is the science that deals with the pharmacological aspects of inorganic compounds, pharmacological, or at the same time, the biological or the chemical aspects of inorganic compounds. And we have defined already what are inorganic compounds. Diba? Pag sinabing inorganic compounds, this could be any substances that do not contain carbon. Kasi whenever a substance already contain a carbon, that is considered organic already. So, yung core or concept that we will be discussing on pharmaceutical inorganic chemistry is focusing more on the pharmaceutical uses of inorganic compounds. For example, let me give you an overview. Few examples of inorganic compounds that you have learned writing their names or their chemical formula is, halimbawa, yung aluminum hydroxide, di ba? Magnesium hydroxide. These are just few examples of inorganic compounds. Now, mind you, class, that in relative to pharmaceutical uses of this, they have an important or essential na pharmaceutical uses. Particularly, clinically, they are classified as antacid. So, in the market, we have commercially available ng mga medication containing this inorganic compound. Merong aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, and they are used as antacid. What's the use of antacid? But when I say antacid, generally, they neutralizes stomach acidity. So, para saan siya? Halimbawa, if the patient has hyperacidity, they have ulcer-like symptoms. So they can have this medication, antacid. And aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide, this is one of their common pharmaceutical uses in the market. And they are commercially available. Halimbawa ng brand or gamot na yun containing these two nga ingredient or component is yung Kremel S. I know you're familiar with Kremel S. Dalawang klase yung Kremel S, diba, in the market. We have the plain one, yung color pink. That's the plain one. And we also have the blue, yung blue, naka-blue blister pack. Yun naman yung Kremel S Advance. Okay? Now, talking about aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, components sila ng plain, yung color pink na Kremel S. Particularly, in addition to these two inorganic compounds, meron yan silang dagdag na anti-gas agent, or we call it anti-foaming agent, yung simethicone. Ito, tatlo, yung component ng Kremel S plain. Okay, and yung gamit niya is antacid. Okay, ito, yung simethicone, yan naman ay organic component. Again, yung use ng simethicone dyan sa Kremel S, pink na plain is as anti-foaming agent. Pag sinabing anti-foaming agent, anti-gas. It releases extra gases from the colon. Yung blue naman, yung Kremel S Advance, in replacement to aluminum hydroxide, okay, ang nag-replace is yung calcium carbonate. You can search it naman sa internet. Okay, ano yung component ng Kremel S Advance, yung color blue. So wala na siyang aluminum hydroxide. Yung pumalit is calcium carbonate. And wala na din siyang simethicone since it is already an advanced formula ng Kremel S. It is a stronger one yung pinalit. And it's a famotidine. Famotidine is an H2 blocker. Histamine 2 blocker na drug. Very useful din as anti-acid. Okay? So, meron pa ring magnesium hydroxide. Okay, so yung kaibahan lang ng Kremel S Advance, sa plain one, is ito. Meron na siyang calcium carbonate, replacing aluminum hydroxide, and meron na siyang famotidine, replacing simethicone. And you still add here magnesium hydroxide. So yan yung tatlong component ng CREML-S Advanced. Okay, so this is just an overview. I'm just giving you an idea or general concept what to learn in pharmaceutical inorganic chemistry. That will be our focus here. Okay, learning different inorganic compounds na mayroong pharmaceutical uses available in the hospital setting, with clinical uses available commercially sa mga botika or any drugstores. And this will be the flow. We will be discussing those inorganic compounds per element in each group. So we will start with the first group in A elements. So we'll start with group 1A elements, and they are also known as alkali metals. You have your periodic table of elements, diba? The other name of group 1A, they are also known as alkali metals. So given this information, alkali metals, so these are metals that exhibits alkali property. What do you mean by alkali? Alkali, diba, meron siyang basic property. Okay? Now, I want you to look at the elements that fall under group 1A. There's one element here that is not actually a metal, but it is still classified as group 1A. Hindi siya alkali metal, hindi siya metal, but still it is classified as 1A element. Okay, and that would be hydrogen. Take note ha, yung hydrogen, it is not a metal. In fact, non-metal siya. Diba? It's a gas, non-metal. But the reason why it is still classified as 1A element, it is because it exhibits the same chemical properties with those alkali metals. So yung alkali metals talaga, it starts with lithium and down to francium. Pero yung kapag yung question is asking you the first element in 1A, group 1A element, then that would be hydrogen. Okay, so it's a different yan na aspect kung yung tinanong metal, alkali metal versus element that falls under 1A. Okay, so again, the first element in 1A is hydrogen, then followed by lithium, so on and so forth. But hydrogen is not a metal. So this is the reason why hydrogen is still classified as 1A element, although it is not a metal at all. Number one, it is univalent. So the same with alkali metals, hydrogen, it only consists of one valence electron. Okay? So same siya with those alkali metals. Also, ang hydrogen, the same with the rest of the alkali metals, during chemical reaction, it forms +1 oxidation state, forming cation. Kaya ba yung hydrogen forms hydrogen ion, or we call that proton. Yung sodium also forms a +1 nga oxidation state, also potassium. Okay? And the rest of the metals under group 1A. Kaya nga 'di ba, kapag ang element is part of group 1A element, they have a valence of 1. That's equal, 'di ba? I have taught you that sa mga preliminary lessons. Kung ano yung group number niya, that's equivalent to its valence electron. So since hydrogen falls also in group 1A, it is univalent. It has one valence electron. Okay, going back to the periodic trend. Okay, one property of the atom that relates to atomic size is yung atomic radius, diba? And yung atomic radius, which relates to atomic size, has the trend increasing going to the left. So yung group 1A andito, on the left side of the periodic table, that's why any elements, any metals on the leftmost part, they have larger size. Kaya they are large atoms. Next, they are considered most reactive. In fact, yung reactivity niya is consistent or directly proportional with its alkaline property. And it is consistent also with the atomic number. So it means to say nga, the higher the atomic number, kasi as we go down the group, we are increasing the atomic number. Nag-increase yung proton number ng element. So as we increase the atomic number, yung alkaline property niya din is also increasing. That's what we meant about directly proportional. And when it comes to its reactivity, nagiging most reactive din yung element with higher atomic number. Okay, next. They said to form hydroxides. And when we say hydroxides, kapag ang compound may hydroxide, they exhibit alkaline property. They are strongly basic compounds, except with lithium hydroxide. Kindly take note of this. Yung lithium hydroxide is said to be a weaker base. Weaker base because it is difficult for lithium hydroxide to donate electron pair. Okay? And that is not a property of a base. Kasi dapat kapag alkaline or basic property, it would be easier for the compound to donate electron pair. Okay? They easily donate electron pair. So in the case of lithium hydroxide, it is said to be a weaker base because it's difficult for this compound to donate electron pair. Okay, and then the rest of the alkali metals, they are never found free state in nature. That's why they are usually coated with paraffin for them to be protected, for them to prevent from any reactive state. So they are never found free state in nature. Next, these are other chemical properties of alkali metals. Can you take note? Any of those alkali metals, pag alkali metals, I am referring to lithium down to francium. Okay? Pag alkali metals, generally, they could react with the following. They could react with hydrogen gas, and the product, yung tawag sa product, hydrides. Or they may react with halogen. Di ba kapag capital X sa chemistry, halogen. Okay? What are halogens? So those elements that fall in group 7A. Okay? Yung nasa 7A like fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, those are halogens. So alkali could react with any of halogens, and the product, we call them halides. And then alkali metals may also react with oxygen gas. And these are the possible products, oxides. Now, talking about oxides, I have introduced this. Diba, when you can scan over your previous notes, we have distinguished differences between metal versus non-metal. And one of their differences is yung oxides, property nila. Yung metallic oxide, they are said to be basic in property. Whereas yung non-metallic oxides, they are acidic in property. Let's say, for example, the oxide of sodium, or we call it sodium oxide. Okay? The reason why ang sodium oxide, this metal oxide, is said to be basic in property because when this is reacted to water, when dissolved in water, okay, it produces a basic or alkaline solution, forming sodium hydroxide. Okay? Whereas yung non-metal oxide, halimbawa, non-metal sulfur. So an oxide of sulfur could be sulfur dioxide. Ayan. When this is reacted in water, it forms this time acidic solution. Example of an acidic solution, sulfuric acid. Diba? H2SO4, that's sulfuric acid. So that's one of the differences ng mga metal oxides versus non-metal oxides. Basic, yung metal oxide, acidic, yung non-metal oxides. Then this is just an additional information talking about salts. of alkali metals, they are said to be water soluble. Okay, I would like to highlight salts. We have an inorganic chemical reaction that forms salt, or we call it salt formation type of reaction. Can you take note of this? Neutralization. I have provided a recorded lecture video on the types of inorganic reactions. Kindly scan your notes on that. Neutralization is also known as salt formation. So this is the type of reaction that forms a salt. Okay? And neutralization happens when we react an acid with a base. And again, the product is a salt and a byproduct is water. So halimbawa, you have a base, sodium hydroxide, reacted with an acid, hydrochloric acid. So this is an example of neutralization reaction. Neutral kasi yung isa acid, yung kabila naman is a base. So whenever we react acid and base, the product is always a salt. So in this case, double displacement type of reaction siya. So ang magiging product nito na salt is sodium chloride. Okay? And then the byproduct is water. So this is the salt being formed. Now, any salt of alkali metal like sodium chloride, but sodium is an alkali metal. So its salt form, like sodium chloride, is said to be water soluble. Madali lang siyang ma-dissolve in water, except for the following salts. Salt ng lithium fluoride, lithium carbonate, or lithium phosphate. They are least soluble in water. Okay, least soluble sila, soluble in water. Because yung lithium's atomic size is too small. That's why it forms a stronger attraction with the nuclei of the other atom na ka-interact niya like fluorine, carbonate, phosphate. So because of the too small size of lithium, it forms a strong attraction with the nuclei of the other anions, okay, in this compound. If stronger yung bond, syempre mahirap i-break yung bond na yon, least likely siya madadissolve in water. Okay, so can you take note of this? Compounds of lithium, salts of lithium that are least soluble. Okay, so those are the chemical properties of group 1A elements. So we have again hydrogen, sodium, potassium, cesium, rubidium, francium. So this time, we will discuss each of the element that falls under 1A. Okay, group 1A. So we'll start with hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen is also known as inflammable air, or synonymous lang din yan sa flammable air. Inflammable and flammable, parehas lang yan ha. Synonym lang yan ng mga terms. Ibig sabihin, they are combustible. Combustible, flammable siya, nga gas. And I bet you know that. Kaya hindi na ginagamit, di ba, yung hydrogen gas to inflate balloons. Kasi delikado. If hydrogen is used in inflating balloons, that would cause production of flame. That could be combustible. Now, this element was discovered by Henry Cavendish. So, yan, siya yung nag-discover. And take note, among the elements in the periodic table of elements, this is the lightest element. And wala siyang pharmaceutical therapeutic use. Okay, so this is one of the gas in the atmosphere that has no therapeutic use. However, we have other gases na merong therapeutic use. Okay, so kung si hydrogen gas, wala siyang therapeutic use, but other gas have usefulness. Halimbawa, yung carbon dioxide, one of its therapeutic use is ginagamit siya as respiratory stimulant. Okay, so yan, carbon dioxide. Oxygen, of course, it's very useful. This is known as the respirable air for respiration. Okay, and helium. Helium, I know you're familiar with this, also used for inflating balloons, diba? But for its pharmaceutical uses, ang helium is component siya ng artificial air. Ano ba yung main component ng artificial air? 80% of that is helium, and then 20% of that is oxygen. So yan yung component ng artificial air. Okay, so these are just few examples of gases na merong therapeutic use. However, si hydrogen, wala siyang therapeutic use. As for the production method of hydrogen, the process is, we call it Messerschmitt process. It could produce up to 99% pure na hydrogen. So this is just a good to know information. Ano yung tawag sa pag-produce, yung method to produce hydrogen. Yung synthetic, okay, na hydrogen. 99% pure hydrogen can be produced by this process. Okay, kung walang therapeutic use yung hydrogen, then marami naman siyang industrial use. So, one is for Haber process for the production of ammonium or production of ammonia. So, yan yung pangalan ha ng process to produce ammonium. Okay, Haber process. So, ginagamit yung hydrogen dyan to produce ammonia. Hydrogenation of oils to produce margarine. Okay, margarine is actually a solid fat. So, meaning to say, our takeaway here would be, in order pala to produce a solid type of fat, the fatty oils should undergo hydrogenation, should be added with hydrogen. Okay, hydrogenation meaning what is being added in the reaction is hydrogen. And lastly, this is a non-therapeutic use ng hydrogen. Before, obsolete na ito ha, obsolete. Hindi na siya ginagamit ngayon, but before, ginagamit siya for inflating balloons. But again, obsolete use na niya yan kasi it has been replaced already. It has been replaced already with helium. Kasi helium is said to be non-flammable. It's non-flammable. Yung helium. So it replaced hydrogen in inflating balloons. So that's for the important information for hydrogen. In addition to that, hydrogen, it has 3 important isotopes. Let's recall what isotope means. Iso, it means the same. And then you highlight letter P for you to easily recall nga ang the same is proton number. Tingnan, yung proton number nila, yung capital Z, that's proton number, parehas sila. One, kasi they have the same element. These are all hydrogen. So, yung proton number nila or atomic number is also the same. Okay? However, saan lang yung ang difference kapag isotope? They differ in neutron number. They differ in neutron number because they have different atomic masses. For protium, it has an atomic mass of 1. Deuterium, 2. Tritium, 3. Okay? So that makes them have different neutron number. Kasi different yung atomic mass nila. Okay, information na for each isotope of hydrogen. Protium, let's start with protium. Take note, the isotope protium of hydrogen is the most stable. Okay, the most abundant. Okay, and this is the most common isotope of hydrogen. The deuterium naman, okay, this is the component of heavy water. Yung heavy water nga formula, it's deuterium 2O, D2O. That's heavy water. And yung use ng heavy water, it is used as solvent, okay, for NMR spectroscopy. So yan yung use ng heavy water. It is used as a solvent for nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. And lastly, ang tritium naman, it is a radioactive isotope of hydrogen. Okay. Next, hydrogen is said to be the most abundant element in the universe. So, in the level nga universe, siya yung pinaka most abundant based on quantity. But on the Earth's crust, in this planet Earth, when it comes to abundancy of element, yung pinaka-abundant is oxygen gas. This is the most abundant. So be careful in answering questions related to abundancy of element. You have to read the whole statement kung ano yung tinatanong, if abundancy ba ng element in the level of universe or in Earth's crust. Okay, so sa Earth, most abundant is oxygen, but in the universe, the most abundant element is hydrogen. And this is one of the most important compound containing hydrogen, of course, water, the universal solvent, diba? H2O, water. So let's discuss what's the importance of this compound containing hydrogen, water. So as we mentioned kanina, it is the universal solvent. It is said to be present anywhere, everywhere, anytime. That's omnipresent na compound. It acts as a ligand. When I say ligand, it is able to react with other molecule para makabuo ng more complex or larger nga compound. Water may also act as either an acid or a base. Whenever a compound, a substance exhibit this characteristic, pwede siya acid, pwede siya base, we call the term amphoteric. Again, whenever you encounter a substance that has either acidic property or in some reaction, pwede din siya yung base, then we call that compound amphoteric. Also, water could act either as oxidizing agent or reducing agent. So I have introduced a mnemonics related to oxidizing versus reducing agent. Pag oxidizing, that is a Geroa. Okay, Geroa. Please recall this in your notes. Then kapag reducing agent, mnemonics, Leora. Okay, you just scan it over sa notes niyo. I have introduced this already sa mga preliminary discussion. Next. This time, let's talk about the different types of water. So marami tayong types of water. Merong natural waters, mineral waters, waters listed in the USP, so on and so forth. So okay, let's start with these types of water listed on the screen. Ayan. Pag sinabing water of crystallization, by definition, these are water associated with crystals. And they precipitate out from aqueous solution. Particularly, this type of water of crystallization, these are the type of water that is being given off by those substances classified as efflorescent substances. Okay, say efflorescent substances, these are substances that gives off or releases moisture when exposed in the atmosphere. So water of crystallization, these are usually given off by efflorescent substances. Water of hydration naman, it's a type of water associated with cations or could be associated by anions of a salt. Good example here is yung salt of cupric sulfate. Take note that this compound, cupric sulfate, it is most stable if it is present in pentahydrated nga water. So this type of water, okay, 5 moles of water associated with cupric sulfate, we call that water of hydration. Okay, a water that is associated with this salt, cupric sulfate. So this is just an example. Zeolitic water naman, it's a physically held water. Example, yung hydrous silicate. Okay, so this is an example of a water physically or associated physically. Okay, na type of water, zeolitic water. And finally, lattice water. It is coordinated with a lattice structure of crystals. So here's the hint, no? Pag lattice water, it is held in definite lattice structure. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Another types of water. But this time, natural waters naman sila categorized, or mineral waters. By definition, when say natural waters, they contain dissolved materials such as suspended particles, dissolved atmospheric gases, or metabolic decomposition products. It's quite easy to identify the type of natural waters here kasi you just have to check, no, the name of the water. Halimbawa, alkaline water, that gives you already a hint what is the component of that water. Alkaline water man yung pangalan niya, so it contains an alkaline substance. So the alkaline substance that it contains is sodium bicarbonate. Okay, alkaline substance. Other alkaline substance is yung metal na sodium, di ba? Sodium is an alkali metal, magnesium is an alkaline earth metal. So that makes this water alkaline water. Carbonated water. So what's the hint? Carbonate, carbon. So this water is charged with carbon dioxide. Chalybeate water naman, the clue here is it contains iron. Okay, and since this water, type of water contains iron, di ba pag iron, para siyang bakal. Okay, kaya yung taste niya, it tastes like bakal. So lasang bakal or ferruginous taste. And what's the color ba ng iron kapag nag-rust siya? Brownish, di ba? So yung kulay din niya is somehow brownish. Okay? Ferruginous taste yan. Ferruginous taste. Lithia water naman, of course, it contains lithium. Usually in a form of carbonate or chloride. Example, lithium chloride or as lithium carbonate. Saline water, also known as purgative water, it contains large amounts of magnesium sulfate, sodium sulfate with saline. No, yung sodium chloride dyan, okay, when dissolved or available in solution form, that makes it saline. Okay, when you say saline, it is a solution that contains salt. Okay, then what makes it purgative type of water? Pag sinabing purgative, meron siyang cathartic effect, laxative effect. It increases bowel movement. That is because of the large amounts of sulfates. Take note, any substances that contain sulfates, tartrates, what else? Magnesium, okay? Phosphate, yan, or citrate, yan. Kapag ang compound, they contain these substances, they somehow increases bowel movement. Okay? Increases bowel movement. They exhibit laxative, cathartic effect. Next, sulfur water. So, merong sulfur. Okay? In that type of water. Silicious water naman, merong silicates on it. Okay, so you just have to be familiar with the name of the natural water and then take note of that name for you to be guided what is the component in that water. Next, another type of water. Okay, this is the concept related to water hardness. Okay, when you heard about the concept hardness of water, that is mainly because of the presence of divalent ions. So this exists, water hardness nga concept, because there are certain types of water that contains divalent ions. Example of those divalent ions that causes water hardness calcium ion, magnesium ion. Okay? Now, there are two types of water hardness. Merong permanent, merong temporary. So, what's the difference? Temporary hardness of water lang yung kinocontribute if it only contains magnesium and calcium bicarbonate. Kasi these components, they can be easily removed physically. So if they can be easily removed physically, then they could contribute only temporary hardness in water. Okay, so calcium, let me write the formula. So this is calcium bicarbonate, and this is magnesium bicarbonate. Okay, so if these salts are dissolved in water, they can be easily removed physically. Example, via boiling. So they only contribute temporary hardness. However, there are salts of calcium and magnesium that are not easy to be removed. Example, yung calcium sulfate, calcium chloride, magnesium sulfate, magnesium chloride. Let me write the formula muna. Calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, magnesium chloride. Ayan. So if these type of salts of calcium and magnesium naman are dissolved in water, it's not easy to be remove them physically. We need chemical reaction for them to be replaced, and that is via ion exchange resin. So they contribute naman permanent hardness kasi yung way or manner for them to be removed in water is via replacing them with another ion. Kaya nga ion exchange. They can be removed, calcium and magnesium can be removed, but in exchange of another ion. So may presence pa rin ng ion. Hindi nga lang calcium at saka magnesium. That's why this time they contribute permanent hardness. So these are the two types of water hardness. We have temporary and we have permanent hardness. And these are the last type of water that we will be discussing. We have official types of water, or those official waters listed in the USP, United States Pharmacopoeia. It's a compendium, okay, collection of information about standard specificity of a drug, herbal supplements, vitamins, nutritionals. Nandun lahat sa USP. It's a compendium. It's a book of life talking about drug information. Okay, so there are list of waters there, and ito yung mga few of the official USP waters listed. We have purified water. When you say purified water, of course, it has undergone purification. Okay, kaya tawag sa kanya purified. It is said to be pyrogen-free, free from fever-causing mga bacteria. And yes, it has undergone purification. Now, talking about purification of water, let me introduce this mnemonics. This talks about different levels or steps in purifying water. F for filtration. Okay. R for reverse osmosis. Okay. Then IE for ion exchange. And lastly, D for distillation. So these are the common steps of purification, common processes of purification of water. When you say purified yung water, it has undergone this purification processes. Next, water for injection. So ito yung definition, description ng water for injection. Let's focus more on the use. Take note, the use for water for injection, ginagamit siya for large scale manufacturing of parenteral products. Pag maramihan ng pag-manufacture ng mga parenteral products, then water for injection is used. However, kapag extemporaneous naman, tigi-tigi, manually, preparation, manual compounding of parenteral products, then what is used, recommended, is yung sterile water for injection. Sterile water for injection. Next, bacteriostatic water for injection naman. So here's the definition. So by the definition, it says here na it contains already antimicrobial agent. Example, benzyl alcohol. Okay, so that makes it bacteriostatic already. Kasi meron na siyang component that prevents growth or it kills bacteria. So example, benzyl alcohol. Now, take note, this type of water is not given intravenously kasi yung component na benzyl alcohol makes the solution coarse, or it forms a kumbaga coarse dispersion nga solution. Hindi na siya kumbaga solution type nga we all know. Di ba pag sinabing solution, it should be homogeneous type of preparation. So kung coarse dispersion na siya, somehow meron na siyang heterogeneous nga characteristic because of the added antimicrobial agent. Okay, so not given siya intravenously. Kasi pag sinabing intravenous, direct siya sa veins, direct siya sa ugat. And a coarse dispersion nga solution, it could cause blockade sa blood flow. Okay, so not given siya intravenously. Additionally, it is not used, okay, for preparation ng mga parenteral preparation for neonates. Okay, hindi siya ginagamit for neonates parenteral products. Okay, the reason why is because of the component benzyl alcohol. Okay, ang benzyl alcohol kasi dapat sa katawan natin when this is administered, okay, kailangan siyang ma-metabolized in our body, and the main site of metabolism in the body is of course the liver. And as neonates, not fully develop pa yung mga organs nila, diba? Halimbawa, yung liver. So, not fully develop pa yung liver niya. So, it cannot metabolize yet benzyl alcohol. Kaya ang mangyayari, if administered siya sa neonates, it could cause accumulation, diba? Accumulation, pwede siyang mag-deposit if this, Ayan. Again, if ang benzyl alcohol, if not metabolized, then it will be accumulated. Okay, example, pwede siyang ma-accumulate in the lungs ng neonates. Kaya there were cases na whenever this water for injection type is used to prepare parenteral preparation ng mga neonates, may cases na nagkaroon ng gasping syndrome sa mga neonates. That is because of the accumulation nga of benzyl alcohol sa lungs ng neonates. Hindi siya na-metabolize, hindi siya na-excrete. Okay? Kasi nga, not fully developed pa yung liver used to metabolize certain compounds among neonates. Yan. So, that's the reason why they are not used for neonates. So, kindly take note of that information related to bacteriostatic water for injection. Next, sterile water for irrigation. For washing purposes naman ito, for irrigation purposes. And sterile water for inhalation, of course, for inhalation purposes. Okay? And this one, okay, ito naman are the different IV fluids available in the hospital setting. Although you are still in your first year level, but I will introduce this for you to be aware nga in the hospital setting, we also have different intravenous fluids, and for them to be easily categorized, easily identified, and minimize errors in selecting this IV fluids, naka-color code yung packaging nila. Okay? So, meron silang color coding to identify. And this is the standard nga color coding ng mga IV fluids. Halimbawa, for PNSS, by the way, yung PNSS, that's plain normal saline solution. That's color green. We're talking about the label of the package, ha? Not the color of the solution. Yung color lang ng label nila. Okay? Kasi that is used for them to be categorized or for easy identification. So, sino ba dito si PNSS, so on and so forth. So, color green yung color ng packaging ng plain normal saline solution. Yung D5 water naman, it's color red. Okay? Yung dextrose, 5% in lactated ringer solution, or this is also known as D5LRS. Ayan. This is color pink. Next, D5, dextrose 5% in normal M solution, or this is D5NM. Ang kulay naman niya is orange. Plain lactated ringer solution, it's dark blue. Dark blue, or this is abbreviated as PLRS. Next, 5% dextrose and 0.3% sodium chloride solution. This is light blue in color. Okay, the normal saline solution and 5% dextrose. Okay, ito naman, this is color yellow. Okay. And then dextrose 5% in normal sol R. This is yellow-green. Okay, this is also D5NR. Okay, ito naman D5NSS. And finally, yung balanced multiple maintenance solution with 5% dextrose, it's color violet. Okay, so yan. So kindly take note of the color coding ng mga packaging nila. That's for the IV fluids. Okay, next. Okay. In addition to the different properties, information na na-discuss natin about water, kindly take note, talking about water vapor. Water vapor is considered the best expectorant. Okay? Pag sinabing expectorant class, meaning it is able to expel out, okay, expels, okay, or brings out mucus, brings up sputum or mucus. So yan yung ibig sabihin ng expectorant type of substance. Ginagamit ito na mga substance during or for those patients na mayroong productive type of cough, yung may phlegm, may plema ba, nga type of obo. So to easily expel out or bring up the sputum from the lungs, then you may opt with expectorant. And one of the best expectorant talaga is yung water vapor. Magpabuka lang ka, no? You just have to boil water and yung vapor doon na lumalabas upon boiling such water at 100 degrees Celsius. Singhutin mo lang siya. Then it will relieve, no? Expels out the sputum. Okay. We have other nga mga in the market, no? Sa market, we have commercially available din na mga drugs classified as expectorant. Example, yung Robitussin. Na you're familiar, guaifenesin, yung generic name. Yung brand name, Robitussin. Ayan. So that is classified as expectorant. Now, other classification ng gamot also useful for productive type of cough, yun yung mga mucolytics naman. Meron din tayong tinatawag na mucolytics. So, based sa pangalan, lytics, so it causes lysis of mucus. It causes lysis of mucus. Ibig sabihin, ginagawa niya, it breaks, no, the bonds that causes viscosity ng mucus. So, pinapalabnaw niya yung mucus. So, it causes lysis of mucus to loosen the sputum. Para, pag malabnaw na siya, madali na lang siyang ma-expel out sa katawan. So, we have also mucolytics available, commercially available in the market. Yung mnemonics natin dito is A, B, C, C. Dalawa yung letter A. We have ambroxol. Ayan. Acetylcysteine. Acetylcysteine. B for bromhexine. Bromhexine. And C for, ito yung pinaka-common, yung carbocysteine. Yung Solmux, you're familiar, di ba, with Solmux. Carbocysteine yung generic name niya. Acetylcysteine, common din to. Yung Flumucil, you're familiar. Kapag yung Flumucil is actually a effervescent na preparation, i-dissolve siya sa water, and di ba, meron siyang bubbling effect. Okay? That's the characteristic ng mga effervescent preparation. Okay? So this is the brand for acetylcysteine. Take note ha, it's a mucolytic. ABC, mucolytics naman sila. Okay? Sige, proceed. Okay, next, another compound that contains hydrogen. So next to water is hydrogen peroxide. So this is the formula, chemical formula of hydrogen peroxide. Can you take note of the other name, aka, also known as. Aka is also known as. So yan yung other names niya. For its uses, used as antiseptic. This is the most popular use, no, ng hydrogen peroxide. Diba ginagamit siya as antiseptic? Pag sinabing antiseptic, it can be applied to living tissues. Okay, it can be applied to living tissues. Iba yung disinfectant. Do not confuse it with disinfectant. Pag sinabing disinfectant, it can only be applied to inanimate objects. Inanimate objects. So yan yung difference ng antiseptic versus disinfectant. Okay? So yung hydrogen peroxide, more likely antiseptic siya. Kaya, meron tayong preparation niya used for the treatment for a severe form of gingivitis, severe form ng inflammation of gums, yung Vincent's stomatitis. Ginagamit siya as mouthwash. But the risk here, meron lang tong risk. Okay? Kung excessive masyado yung exposure, no, ng mouth natin sa hydrogen peroxide solution, it could develop black hairy tongue. Black hairy tongue. If you're curious about the feature, ano yung itsura ba kapag ang tongue develops black hairy characteristic, you can search it naman sa Google. Okay? So this is a risk when excessive exposure with hydrogen peroxide as mouthwash, it could develop blacky hairy tongue. Kasi yung hydrogen peroxide is said to be a powerful oxidizing agent. So mainly because of its oxidizing characteristic, pwede siyang mag-cause ng blacky hairy tongue. Okay? For the cosmetic use naman ng hydrogen peroxide, ginagamit siya for bleaching hair. Bleaching agent siya for hair. Okay, so sa mga salon, no, yung ginagamit to bleach hair, component niyan is hydrogen peroxide. And these are the commercial availability of hydrogen peroxide. We have the 10 volume solution, 20 and 100 volume solution. Okay, now I want you to know how to interpret what does 10 volume solution means. Pag sinabing ang preparation ng hydrogen peroxide is 10 volume solution, it means na in every ml of hydrogen peroxide, it releases 10 ml of oxygen gas. Yan po yung interpretation ng 10 volume solution. Every ml siya. Every ml of that hydrogen peroxide, it releases 10 ml of oxygen gas. And how many percentage? It contains 3%. So you could at least memorize yung first one. Kasi if you know the equivalent percentage ng 10 volume solution, i-ratio and proportion nyo na lang. Kapag ang tinanong halimbawa, ilan naman yung percentage kapag 20 volume solution. So you can have it 10 volume, okay, di ba 3%. Ilan naman kapag 20 volume, okay? So the answer here would be 6% kung i-ratio and proportion nyo siya. You don't have to memorize actually everything. There are techniques, no, to somehow lessen memorization, but you can still answer any question during assessment, okay? Kasi the more you feed your mind with a lot of information, mas prone ka to confusion or to mental block. Sige. So, a topical solution naman available for hydrogen peroxide is yung, of course, yung pinaka less yung concentration. Kasi hindi siya irritating when applied topically. So yung 3%, 10 volume solution. And use a stabilizer there is yung acetanilide. So we are done with hydrogen and the important compounds containing hydrogen. We have water at saka hydrogen peroxide. Okay, this time, let us proceed to the second element in group 1A. So we have lithium. Lithium, this comes from the word lithos, which means stone. Kaya, with this information, ang lithium is also synonymous to earth. Kasi ang stone, di ba, soils, they are mainly found on earth. Okay, so that's the reason why ang stone or ang lithium having this, kumbaga, originated niya na term, stone, it could be synonymous also to the term earth. Next, it is the lightest of all metal. Kung element, ang tinanong, lightest of all element, it's hydrogen. Pero kung metals alone, yung kinumpare, the lightest among all metals, it would be lithium. Okay, next, it is said to be very reactive na element. That's why it is stored under oil, coated with petrolatum. And it's the only alkaline metal that melts above the boiling point of water. In fact, yung boiling point niya is 180.5 degrees Celsius. So above the boiling point of water. Okay. Lithium is also a bridge element. When you say bridge element, these are elements in the periodic table of elements that shows diagonal relationship. Yung diagonal relationship that exists in the periodic table of elements, this is only observable between elements in period 2 and in period 3. Okay? So, halimbawa, you try to check the periodic table of elements you have. Sa period 2, diba, we have lithium, followed by beryllium. And we also have boron, carbon, nitrogen, so on and so forth. The third period, we have magnesium, okay? Aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, so on and so forth. So yung diagonal relationship, okay, looks like this. So, kumbaga, si lithium, it resembles properties same with magnesium. Okay, so yan yung ibig sabihin ng diagonal relationship that exists between period 2 at saka period 3 sa periodic table of elements. So this lithium is an example of a bridge element. Same with beryllium, boron, carbon, and nitrogen. Okay, kasi nasa period 2 sila. So they show resemblance in characteristics with those in period 3. Okay, so diagonal relationship. As for the pharmacologic action, we will be discussing later compounds ng lithium that has depressant nga activity. Yung compound na yun mainly used for the treatment of bipolar disorder. Okay, or manic episodes. Manic episodes. You say, bipolar disorder, it's a mental condition. It's a mental disorder wherein yung patient is experiencing extreme mood swings. But hindi siya daily na changes sa mood swing. Bipolar siya kapag um, longer period nagkakaroon ng mood swings. Halimbawa, for the first 3 to 4 months, yung episode niya is more on euphoric, happy, yan. Active siya masyado sa mga recreational activities. And then, the next 3 months naman, nag-change, no? Yung mood niya. Iba naman yung episode niya. Lesser naman yung activity niya to recreational activity. Ganon. So, sadness, more on sadness, traumatic experience, ganon. So, that's how we diagnose bipolar disorder. Hindi siya daily nga mood swings. It should be longer period of time yung pagkakaroon ng transition sa mood swings. Okay, we also have compounds ng lithium with diuretic effect, but this is not anymore used. Obsolete na ito. Kasi it has been found out nga yung dosage ng lithium having diuretic effect. When you say diuretic, it could cause urination. Okay? It could cause diuresis, urination. Nagpapaihi. Yan. Napagkaalaman na yung dosage ng lithium that causes diuretic effect, it could cause kidney damage. Okay? That's why it's not anymore used as diuretic. So more of depressant effect yung ginagamit sa kanya. Treatment for bipolar disorder. And this is an additional information. Lithium is a teratogen na compound. When say teratogen, teratogenic effect, it could affect the fetus. Okay? Particularly, the teratogenic effect niya is Abstein anomaly. So what particular part, no, organ ng fetus being affected? It affects the heart, okay? Affected is yung tricuspid valve of the heart. Okay, so this is a good example no ng compound na merong teratogenic effect. Never be given to pregnant. Okay? Yan. Non-pharmacologic action ng lithium naman is use in air conditioners. So we have, for example, lithium bromide. Ito yung ginagamit as heat exchanger for air conditioners. Yung ginagamit siya mainly as desiccant. When you say desiccant, drying agent. Okay. So that's lithium bromide. But we'll focus more, class, on those compounds na merong pharmaceutical uses. Okay? So yung lithium bromide, yung pharmaceutical uses niya, pwede siya for mania disorder. Kapag ang compound may bromide, may lithium, pwede siya for bipolar disorder. Lithium carbonate is the most common one available commercially in the market or usually prescribed talaga ng mga doctors for those patients diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Lithium carbonate yung binibigay. Can you correct the formula? That's Li2. Okay. That's lithium carbonate. So drug of choice, DOC, drug of choice for mania, for bipolar disorder. So we have different brands, yung Escalith, Kilonium, Lethane, ayan. So they are available in different forms. May capsule, may tablet, but the one that is commonly prescribed is yung extended release na tablet. Okay? Kilonium. And these are just additional ng mga compounds, but wala siyang pharmaceutical uses, more of industrial uses. So kindly read on that. Lithium oxide used in ceramic glazes, lithium aluminum hydride, a powerful reducing agent. Lithium chloride, ito yung component ng lithium water we have mentioned kanina, and lithium hydroxide, it is a carbon dioxide absorber. Okay. Especially, ginagamit ito among mga astronauts, okay, when going in space, nilalagay yan sa kanilang spacesuits para source ng oxygen. Okay, kasi sa space, ang mas abundant is carbon dioxide. Mas marami carbon dioxide. Kaya babaan sila ng canister wherein yun yung magiging source ng oxygen nila. So yung lithium hydroxide dyan, component sa kanilang canister, nakalagay sa spacesuits, gagawin nito is it will react with the carbon dioxide in space. Hahalo siya, no, with the carbon dioxide in space, forming lithium carbonate. Okay? And it has a byproduct of water. Okay, from this alone, kapag may byproduct of water already, it will undergo electrolysis. Okay, so electrolysis, it means there will be electric current to decompose water. Para ang water will now produce oxygen gas. Okay, and the other byproduct is hydrogen gas. So yan yung way nila to have a source of oxygen in space. Okay, so with the use of lithium hydroxide, which absorbs carbon dioxide, meron na silang ultimately source of oxygen. Okay, so that's all about lithium class. And again, pharmaceutically important compound ng lithium is yung lithium carbonate. Ginagamit for bipolar disorder. Drug of choice siya. Okay, next, sodium. Okay. Sodium, this is also known as natrium. It comes from the Latin word natrium. Ayan, which means natural nature. So this is the reason, class, bakit ang sodium, okay, it has a symbol of Na. Okay, so galing siya sa Latin word yan na natrium. It is said to be the major extracellular fluid cation. So in our body, in our cellular fluids, there are different ions present which has different, kumbaga, uses, no, sa katawan. So let me share to you this mnemonics for you to easily identify, no, the abundancy, the location of cellular fluids in the body. So I have this mnemonics, piso, okay, and then miko, and then fiklo, and suli bayo. Bayo. Okay. Okay, take note, all the mnemonics that are written on top, they are the most abundant. So you label them number 1. And then all the mnemonics listed below, they are just second most abundant or second major lang sila. When it comes to quantity, or abundancy. Kaya nilagay ko siya below. Next, on the left side, lahat ng mnemonics on the left side, they are cations. Okay, they are all cations. And lahat ng mnemonics on the right side, they are all anions. Okay, so that's the arrangement. So how do you read this mnemonics? Okay, piso, it means potassium in, sodium out. Okay, meaning to say, potassium is the major or the most abundant intracellular cation. Okay, intracellular fluid cation. Whereas, ano sabi natin kay sodium? Siya yung most abundant naman na cation saan? Extra. Extra meaning outside. Okay? So, meaning to say, sodium, siya yung most abundant extracellular fluid cation. So, that's how you read it. So, piso is potassium in, sodium out. Miko naman, that's magnesium in, calcium out. So, meaning to say, Magnesium is only the second most abundant or second major intracellular fluid cation. Whereas yung calcium, siya yung second major, saan naman siya makikita? Out meaning extra. Extracellular, okay? Fluid cation. So that's how you read that. Okay, so lahat ng nasa left side, puro cation yan. Ito naman, nasa right side, mga anion. Meaning, ng anion negative, yung charge. Okay, ficlo, it means phosphate. Diba, phosphate is negative. Anion siya. Negatively charged na polyatomic ion. Then, clo, that's for chloride. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ficlo means phosphate in, chloride out. And sabi dito number 1, so it's the phosphate that is considered the most abundant intracellular fluid, anion naman. And then chloride is the most abundant extracellular fluid, anion. Okay, can you follow? Can you show a thumbs up if you understand the mnemonics? Okay, that's good. Okay, so again that's how you read it. Yung sulibyo naman, that's sulfate in. Sulfate in and bicarbonate out. Okay, so you know already how to read that. Okay, it's very easy to read it. Potassium in, sodium out, magnesium in, calcium out, phosphate in, chloride out, sulfate in, bicarbonate out. Just remember their kumbaga yung arrangement nila. How I wrote it in this page, no? Lahat ng nasa taas, most abundant. Lahat ng nasa baba, second most abundant. Lahat ng nasa left, cation. Lahat ng nasa right, anion. Okay? Sige. Going back to this slide. Ayan. In addition, sodium is said to be the cation of choice to optimize pharmaceutical utility of organic medicaments. That's why we have different commercially available drugs in the market that are available sila in sodium salt form. Like halimbawa, meron tayong basic form of vitamin C, like sodium ascorbate. Okay? Meron tayong mga anti-inflammatory drug in sodium salt, like naproxen sodium. Okay? So that's what it meant here, nga ang sodium, siya ang choice of cation to associate, to optimize the pharmaceutical utilization of organic medicaments. And for its effect in the body, too much sodium component, it promotes water retention. That's why it should be used in caution to patients with heart failure, patients with kidney condition. Kasi ang pasyente na meron ng problem sa heart or sa kidney, they have already high blood volume. They have already high fluid content. Okay? So, kung i-expose mo pa yung pasyente with sodium-containing compound, mas lalong mag-a-absorb yan and increase yung fluid content since it promotes water retention. Okay? In fact, in our body, we have a hormone that regulates sodium regulation. Okay? And that is aldosterone. Okay, it promotes sodium regulation in the body. That's aldosterone. It's the hormone. Okay, it's a hormone that regulates sodium. Okay, next, this one naman, this is more of the qualitative analysis of sodium. So in your laboratory, you will be more exposed to different qualitative testing in order to detect, identify, determine ions in a solution. So if you are asked a confirmatory test for sodium. Apart from flame testing, sodium could also be identified or qualitatively detected in a solution using this triple acetates. And the most stable one is yung cobalt uranyl acetate, wherein it could precipitate out sodium in a solution forming yellow precipitate. So ito, nasabi na to kanina, yung sodium causes, promotes fluid retention. Okay, next. Okay, I will just finish compounds ha, ng sodium, and then I will dismiss the class. Okay. You can also have your lunch, okay, while listening to the lecture. Okay, let's move on to the important compounds of sodium, starting with sodium acetate. Okay, sodium acetate, this is used as diuretic. I mentioned kanina, what does diuretic mean? It causes urination. It's an alkalizer. Okay, urinary alkalizer, it makes the urine alkaline. And then systemic alkalizer, it makes the systemic circulation alkaline. Antacid siya, given intravenously, okay, for conditions metabolic acidosis. The problem in metabolic acidosis is mababa na yung bicarbonate ion. And bicarbonate ion is a basic ion. Okay, so kung mababa yung basic ion, ang magdo-dominate ngayon is yung acidotic environment. So yan yung problem kapag metabolic acidosis. So with the help of this compound, since it is an alkalizer, it's an antacid, it could counteract the acidity caused by metabolic acidosis. Then hyponatremia naman, hypo means mababa. Natrium, mababa yung sodium. Emia, it has something to do with blood. Okay, so kung ang problem naman is mababa yung sodium ion sa blood, then we could replenish it with a compound containing sodium. So it makes sense, no? Bakit sodium acetate could be used for hyponatremia? Kasi meron siyang sodium sa component niya. Okay? And then it could be used as alkalinizing agent in Benedict solution. Benedict solution, it's a solution that detects reducing sugars, okay, in a solution. Okay, so to alkalinize, okay, being an alkalizer kasi siya, alkaline siya in nature. So to alkalinize Benedict solution, then we could use sodium acetate. Ito nasabi na to kanina, the triple acetates of sodium, the most stable one, diba, is yung cobalt uranyl acetate, forming yellow precipitate. Okay, the second compound of sodium, sodium bicarbonate. Ayan, so nasabi to kanina, yung mnemonics na SuliBio. Ayan, SuliBio. Yung bicarbonate out, so sa second major siya, nga extracellular anion. This is also known as baking soda. So halos parehas lang yung mga uses nila, alkalizer, basta sodium containing. No, sodium containing na compound, alkalizer siya, antacid siya. Okay, urinary systemic alkalizer, important as physiologic buffer. When you say buffer, it's a solution that resists changes in pH. Okay, so kumbaga, this is added in a solution para maiwasan yung changes sa original pH ng solution. It's an antidote for zinc poisoning. Bakit siya pwede antidote for zinc poisoning? Yung symptoms kasi manifested to patients having zinc poisoning is nagkakaroon sila ng metabolic acidosis. And na-mention natin kanina yung problem sa metabolic acidosis, mababa yung, anong ion yun? Bicarbonate ion. So kung ito yung problem, mababa yung bicarbonate ion, then we replenish what is lacking. Okay, bigyan ng compound na could replenish, no, what is deficient to that patient. Okay, so bigyan ng sodium bicarbonate. And it's a carbonating agent for effervescent preparations. Ano ba yung mga effervescent preparations? Effervescent preparations, these are components that contains, yes, sodium bicarbonate. Yun na nga, siya yung carbonating agent, siya yung source ng carbon dioxide. Source of carbon dioxide, which makes the preparation palatable. Okay, halimbawa, yung sinabi natin kanina nga, Flumosil, isang mucolytic. When it is taken by a patient, consumer, dinedissolve siya muna sa water. And you will observe na meron siyang bubbling effect as it dissolved in water because na-release yung carbon dioxide. It's a gas. Anything sa solution na nagkakos ng bubbling effect, the reason why is because of the evolution of gas. Okay, so yan yung gas, carbon dioxide na na-release sa isang effervescent preparation, and that makes the preparation palatable. Okay? And other acids present in effervescent preparation are citric acid and also tartaric acid. Okay? Then as for the side effect ng sodium bicarbonate, can you take note of this? It causes rebound hyperacidity, metabolic alkalosis, kapag sumobra ba, side effect niya. And it causes edema. Next, excuse me, sodium bromide. So again, pag may bromide present in the compound, it can be used for the treatment of bipolar disorder. Fourth, we have sodium dihydrogen phosphate. Okay, ito din, tawag dito is monobasic. Sodium phosphate. Okay, monobasic siya kasi it contains only 1 mole of sodium, so monobasic. Sodium phosphate. So ginagamit siya as urinary acidifier. It's very important for activation. Okay. Ito yung use niya as a urinary acidifier. Activation of the drug methenamine. Okay, let me introduce this. Ang methenamine class, okay, ginagamit siya as treatment, okay, for UTI. Okay, kasi ang methenamine meron siyang urinary antiseptic property. However, the problem with methenamine, prodrug pa lang siya. Ibig sabihin ng prodrug, inactive form of drug na kailangan muna siyang ma-metabolize sa katawan. So methenamine, once administered in the body, kailangan muna siyang dumaan sa liver, kailangan muna siyang ma-metabolized. Pero the requirement for this to be activated, to be metabolized, is dapat yung urine acidic. So with the help of this urinary acidifier, nagpapa-acidify ng urine, it would help methenamine to be activated, to be metabolized, forming its active form. So yung active form niya is formaldehyde. So when you say active already nga form of drug, siya yung merong activity as a urinary antiseptic. So siya yung mismong drug form, active form of methenamine na useful for recurrent UTI. Okay, so yan yung use niya as urinary acidifier to activate methenamine drug. It's also a source of hypophosphatemia. Ayan, so it makes sense kasi nga it contains phosphate, so pwede siya to replenish the condition na mababa ang phosphate. Ang hypo, mababa ang phosphate. Okay, so to counteract that problem, i-replenish natin ng any compound containing phosphate. Ito, ano naman yung relationship niya to calcium? Pwede daw siya for the treatment of calcium. Okay, talking about a bone mineralysis sa katawan, yung relationship po ni calcium, okay, with phosphate, it's inversely proportional. Ibig sabihin, kapag mataas yung calcium sa katawan, ang phosphate doon is mababa. Okay, this is regulated by the hormone, parathyroid hormone. Okay, in our body, talking about bone mineralysis, the regulation of calcium and phosphate, okay, this is associated or accompanied by the hormone, parathyroid hormone. And inversely proportional ha, yung relationship nila. Therefore, in order to treat, pwede no, to treat hypercalcemia, taas ang calcium, to treat that, bigyan ng phosphate. Kasi nga inversely proportional siya. So kung dadagdagan mo ng phosphate, papataas natin ngayon yung phosphate, yung calcium level will now deplete. Okay? Kasi nga inversely proportional siya. So that's the reason why nakalagay doon, treatment for hypercalcemia kasi inversely proportional siya with phosphate. Okay, next, the dibasic sodium phosphate naman, these are the other names. Okay, kindly take note. We have a compound containing this, we have a preparation rather, containing this compound. We call that phosphosoda. It's a fleet. Ibig sabihin, when you heard about fleet na preparation, ginagamit siya as laxative. Okay? Component nito, phosphosoda, it's both dibasic and monobasic sodium phosphate. You take note of that. It's the most palatable oral over-the-counter saline laxative, phosphosoda. Yung tribasic sodium phosphate naman, because it is very alkaline in nature, very alkaline na siya kasi it contains 3 moles already, no, of sodium, tribasic. So because it's very alkaline in nature, it could be used to clean glass apparatuses. You have your laboratories, diba? Whenever you stained a glassware, you can always ask for an alkaline solution to remove those stains. Kung it's difficult for you to remove stains ba sa inyong glass apparatuses upon returning, you can make use of an alkaline solution para i-clean up yung glass na yan. Okay? Next, cellulose sodium phosphate. It's a cation exchange resin. When I say cation exchange, it's a process to cause replacement of a cation from a solution. So, yung cellulose sodium phosphate, yung preferable ion niya na gina-attract, okay, to replace it is yung calcium. Okay, so cellulose sodium phosphate attracts calcium, replaces calcium in a solution. Kaya niyang i-remove out ba yung calcium in a solution. Kaya, nakalagay siya, pwede siya for the treatment of hypercalcemia. Ano ba yung problema pag hypercalcemia? Hyper means mataas, calcium. Okay, mataas yung calcium in the blood. So to remove out excess calcium in the plasma, in the blood, we can make use of this cellulose sodium phosphate. No, ito, marami siyang forms, yung sodium carbonate. I hope, no, in your state now, in your level now, you are already familiar on how to write the chemical formula. Okay, kasi could be nga sa mga assessment, hindi ibibigay yung pangalan, but the formulas. Which of the following are used as ganito, ganyan? Tapos yung nasa choices are mga formulas. Okay, so you should know how to read already. Chemical formulas, sodium carbonate, so on and so forth. Sodium bicarbonate, etc. So meron siyang tatlong forms. Anhydrous, meaning wala siyang moisture component, kaya it is in a form of ash. Soda ash ang tawag sa kanya. Dehydrated sodium carbonate. Dehydrated, so meron siyang 2 moles of water. 2, letter T, trona. Okay? Decahydrated sodium carbonate. Deca means 10. Okay? And these are the other names niya, or a common name. Sal soda, washing soda, soda crystals. Okay? These are all sodium carbonate class. And pag merong carbonate sa kanyang component, used as carbonating agent siya. Okay? Source of carbon dioxide. When you say carbonating agent, source siya ng carbon dioxide. Okay? Antacid, saponifying agent. Okay? So that's the use of sodium carbonate. Borax. Borax, that's chemically known as sodium borate. Ito yun. Okay? And yung use niya It is used as water softener. Ayan. So, kumbaga, pag sinabing water softener, it is able to remove out divalent ions in that solution. Okay? Ayan. It can be used as astringent, antiseptic, for nose, throat in double solution. Yung double solution class, aside from sodium bicarbonate, it contains other compounds like phenol, ayan, glycerol. So, yan yung component ng double solution. Ito yun. Hindi lang siya klaro, but that's double solution. Component niya, again, sodium bicarbonate, phenol, glycerol. Ginagamit yung double solution as antiseptic, astringent. Okay? Ito, very common nga compound containing sodium chloride. It has 5 other names, also known as, aka, also known as table salt, sea salt, solar salt, brine, rock salt. Yan yung other names, no, ng sodium chloride. Para saan siya? Clinically, in a hospital setting, ginagamit siya as electrolyte replenisher. Kung mababa masyado yung sodium sa katawan, sa fluid, then we could replenish it with those electrolyte replenisher containing sodium chloride. Example, Ringer solution, or this is also known as solution of 3 chlorides. It contains, yes, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, and also calcium chloride. Lactated Ringer solution, it also contains the 3 chlorides, sodium, potassium, and calcium chloride, but with addition of sodium lactate. Take note of this. Kaya nga, Ringers pa rin siya, Ringer solution pa rin siya, but it has been lactated because of the component of sodium lactate. Yun lang yung difference. Okay, and then this one, ito yung sinabi natin, ito yung sabi ko kanina regarding intravenous fluids in a hospital setting para madali siyang ma-identify, makategorize ng mga healthcare professionals working in the hospitals. Naka-color coding yung labels nila. Okay, so I want you to familiarize that. So ito, halimbawa yung color pink, di ba? Yan yung dextrose 5% in lactated ringers. Okay? Yung dark blue, yun yung plain lactated ringer solution. Light blue, ito yung green, yung PNSS, green, so on and so forth. Okay? So you familiarize the color. Okay? Sige, next, sodium citrate. Medyo marami talaga yung i-memorize sa Pharm Chem 1. But the technique lang talaga is to memorize. Okay, you don't have to complicate things, analyze things, but just to memorize. It's one of the skill that you need to develop as medical students. Maraming memorization talaga. Hindi lang siya memorization, sa calculation naman na aspect, you have to, dun naman na part, you have to analyze, calculate, no? So, pag medical, pag pharmacy, hindi siya memorize lang, but meron din siyang math, okay, calculation. Okay, that's a common nga misconception, no, ng iba. Pag pharmacy, walang math. Meron siya actually. But hindi naman siya ganun ka mahirap. Kasi ratio and proportion will help you survive sa calculation aspect in pharmacy. Okay, sige. Continue. Sodium citrate. Ito naman yung chemical formula ng sodium citrate. It's an anticoagulant. Okay, diuretic. You know already the terms, ha? Pag sinabing diuretic, it causes urination. Anticoagulant, it prevents formation of clot. Okay? That prevents formation of clot. Yan yung ibig sabihin ng anticoagulant. Ito. Particularly, during coagulation testing, kapag nag-extract ng blood from humans, dapat hindi siya agad-agad ma-expose sa air. Kailangan siyang contained in this standard vessel. Okay? Yung standard vessel is yung container na may light blue cup. Diyan talaga kino-contain yung extracted blood para maiwasan yung clotting. Kasi very sensitive yung blood kapag na-extract siya and na-expose siya sa air. Agad-agad, mamumuo siya. So para maiwasan yung formation of clot, from a freshly extracted nga blood, it is being contained here. Kasi yung container na to, it is added already with sodium citrate. Okay? And sodium citrate will prevent the formation of clot. Kasi nga, sabi dito, it is an anticoagulant. Okay, so yan yung standard vessel kung saan kino-contain yung freshly extracted blood for coagulation purposes. And then, what else? Ito, side effect naman ito in relation to its anticoagulant effect kasi since it prevents the formation of clot, kung walang clot, then there will be bleeding, di ba? So, side effect naman niya would be, it may cause bleeding. Okay, next. Sodium sulfate. It is also known as Glauber salt, cathartic, drying agent. Ito yung sabi ko kanina, kapag may sulfate, tartrate, sartrate, yung compound, it can be used as laxative, cathartic. It increases bowel movement. Sa laboratory naman, ginagamit siya as drying agent. So as being shown here, halimbawa, if the organic compound is, it contains traces of water, so may mga H2O, and the goal is to remove those traces of water. So you can add sodium. Ayan, this is the sodium sulfate added. And later on, after a few minutes, it will remove out, okay? Or it will trap the water in that drying agent. Okay, so pwede mo na siyang ma-filter yung solution. It has already been removed with water traces. So that's Glauber salt, sodium sulfate. Sodium fluoride naman at 2% concentration, it can be used as anticardiogenic. It prevents dental caries. And in addition, take note, chronic ingestion of fluoride ion as anticardiogenic, it could cause mottling of enamel. So this is the toxicity of fluoride. Dental fluorosis or mottling or mottled enamel. Ito yung itsura. Kumbaga, nagkakaroon na ngayon ng white patches yung teeth causing hypomineralization. Kumbaga sa sobrang exposed sa fluoride ion, natatanggal yung mga natural minerals sa teeth. Nasubraan ba? So, natanggal ngayon yung mga natural minerals. Okay? Kaya nagputi-puti siya, no, yung teeth. Okay? Then ito, for industrial uses naman, because fluoride ion is very corrosive, it can be used for glass etching. Ito. Glass etching to create art sa surface ng glass. That's why we have mga glasswares at home, sa kitchenwares at home, made up of glass na merong mga arts, no, embedded. We call that glass etching, a process creating arts in the surface of the glass. And used to dissolve that glass is yung fluoride ion. Ito, yung sodium gluconate naman, it's the same with sodium chloride. It's used as electrolyte replenisher, but this is more or less irritating. Less irritating siya compared to sodium chloride when used as electrolyte replenisher, yung mga gluconate preparation. Next, sodium nitrite. It's an antidote for cyanide poisoning. Ayan, kumbaga component siya ng cyanide poisoning. We have a case reported that was 2005 here, published na report. Last 2005 sa Bohol, one area sa Bohol, San Jose School in Bohol, nagkaroon po ng food poisoning that kills 27 children. Okay? Who just ate cassava. It has been found out na ang cause ng poisoning is due to cyanide poisoning. Kasi yung cassava, it comes from, when it is prepared, class, very important nga kailangan siyang i-thoroughly wash, especially yung roots. no, yung root part ng cassava. It has to be thoroughly washed para matanggal yung cyanogenic glycoside. Kasi yung root rich in cyanide siya. So, kailangan siyang i-wash thoroughly para matanggal yun. So, yung nangyari is yung vendor selling cassava cake, hindi niya properly na-prepare yung cassava cake. Okay, yung cassava snack. So, that's the reason. Hindi naman siya poisonous talaga kung prepare siya clean, thoroughly, properly prepared siya, correctly. Okay naman. Hanggang ngayon, di ba, we still have cassava cake. Basta i-properly prepared lang yun siya. Thoroughly wash the root part para it wouldn't cause poisoning. Cyanide poisoning. Rich in cyanide kasi yung root part. Okay? So, merong antidote for cyanide poisoning. And one of its component is yung sodium nitrite. Together with amyl nitrite. And also, yung sodium thiosulfate. So, ito yung tatlong component ng cyanide antidote kit. We call it cyanide antidote kit. Okay, so it contains amyl nitrite, sodium thiosulfate. But we have now a most commonly used nga antidote for cyanide poisoning. The most common one is yung vitamin B12. Okay, vitamin B12 or the cyanocobalamin. Okay, that's also known as vitamin B12. Also, yung methylene blue, ginagamit na din siya as antidote for cyanide poisoning, considering nga at higher concentration siya ginamit. Yan yung most common. Vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin. Okay, meron din yung sodium nitrite. Okay, based sa kanyang chemical formula, we could extract nitric oxide out of its formula. Okay? And in our body, nitric oxide is actually a vasodilator. So that's the reason why may nakalagay dyan. The sodium nitrite could also be used as vasodilator kasi we can release nitric oxide out of the chemical formula ng sodium nitrite. Okay, soda lime. This is also known as caustic soda. Same with lithium hydroxide kanina, we mentioned. It's a carbon dioxide absorber, but mainly for anesthesia machines. It's an oxygen therapy and metabolic tests. So, carbon dioxide absorber siya. Okay. Next, sodium hydroxide. Okay, this is also known as, okay, sige, we'll just finish until this slide. Kasi parang mahaba na siya, no? And then we'll just continue next meeting. Sige. So we have sodium hydroxide. Other names are the following. And for its uses, saponifying agent. Pag sinabing saponifying agent, ginagamit siya for saponification process. Yung production of soap. Okay, for saponification process. For hard soap siya mainly. And iba naman yung ginagamit na saponifying agent for soft soap. For soft soap, it's potassium hydroxide. Yung ginagamit as saponifying agent. And it's a liquid in preparing glycerin suppository. So here is a glycerin suppository preparation. Ginagamit na liquid, okay, in preparing that. Okay, this suppository is yung sodium hydroxide. It's a deliquescent substance. Okay, how do we define deliquescent? These are substances that are able to absorb moisture and then they liquefy. Okay. We also have a related term to this, yung mga hygroscopic compound. Pag sinabing hygroscopic compound or substance, they also absorb moisture or water but does not liquefy. Yan yung kaibahan nila ng hygroscopic versus deliquescent. Yung efflorescent naman, na substance, ibig sabihin, they give off moisture when exposed in the atmosphere. So, yan yung ibig sabihin ng efflorescent substance. So, sodium hydroxide is an example of a deliquescent compound. Okay? Aside from sodium hydroxide, also potassium hydroxide, it's a deliquescent substance. Sa hygroscopic naman, good example dito, hygroscopic na substance is yung potassium chloride. Okay, yung calcium chloride. For efflorescent na substance, yung washing soda, kanina, sodium carbonate. Okay, sodium carbonate, decahydrated. This is an example of efflorescent substance. And then finally, sodium nitrate. This is also known as chili, saltpeter, used before as meat preservative. Ngayon, hindi na siya ginagamit as meat preservative kasi it has been found out na when administered sa katawan, they produces nitrosamines. Okay? Again, yung mga nitrates, yung mga nitrates, when metabolized in the body, they form nitrosamines. And nitrosamines are said to be carcinogenic. Okay, it's carcinogenic. It causes mutation, no, sa cells. It causes cancer conditions. And finally, for cyanide poisoning din siya. Kasi from this compound, we could produce the nitrite form, sodium nitrite, which is a component for cyanide antidote kit. Okay. So far, we have discussed 18 of the important compounds of sodium. We have discussed also compounds under hydrogen and lithium. So